Hi, everyone, and welcome back to launch week for our new release, Anatomy of Abundance, a conscious guide to creating prosperity in all aspects of life. I am so incredibly excited to introduce you to another one of our phenomenal co-authors. So today I get to welcome Dr. Karen Kramer to join the conversation. Karen, hi, welcome.
Thank you, Katrina. I'm so excited about this book, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of it.
Absolutely. Honestly, from the time we met and we chat and I learned more about what it is that you do, it just made sense that you would be a part of the book. So for me, it was an absolute hell yes, because your specific focus in your business is not something that you hear very often. So I would love for you, in your words, to introduce what it is that you do and what you're kind of contributing to this incredible book.
Excellent. Well, I am a grief recovery expert, where when you're talking about a book about abundance, it's how does that tie in? So I'll get to that in just a bit, but it really gets to the work that I have done over 30 years in leadership development and coaching, and realized that I had two different types of clients. One who was motivated about doing the work, but was struggling to get there. And I also had the type of clients who were achieving it, but were not sustaining whatever goal they have. So that backed me into doing the more of the neuroscience work. So getting into what's underneath, what drives us, and what limits us from doing what we truly want to do in life. So that's where I've worked in the last 5 years. And I say grief because it's all about this. And this I actually have in the chapter as well. There's a lot of resources out there, including this wonderful book on abundance about how to win and gain and acquire things, but there's not so much information that's out there. Hence the reason why, thank you, Katrina, for allowing me to put this into the chapter about when we're gaining, we're also in the process of losing, letting go, and grieving something to be able to make room for that abundance of what we want next. So when I say grief recovery experts, that is allowing people to identify what they need to let go of and release, and yes, grieve, to make room for the new.
Yeah, and it's so counterintuitive, right? And so just through listening to, having conversations with, reviewing the chapters of each author, one of the chapters that I ended up adding into the book was a chapter on duality, because that really is, that speaks to duality. It's like you can have all of these incredible things going on in your life where you are winning, where you are excelling, where you are expanding and growing. And then at the very same time, simultaneously, you could be having some of the biggest challenges of your life. And so what I love about your book, and it's funny because the whole purpose of putting together this book was to, like, shine light on people's blind spots, bring it into their awareness so that they can break through it and continue to create more abundance. And as we were putting the book together and I started chatting with you, I saw a blind spot in the way that I was structuring this particular project, because I'm like, wow, I'm so focused on the growth and expansion part of the book that we're not actually addressing these maybe darker, shadow sides of what we go through. And so this was just perfect. And I feel like this is going to give people a sense of ease and a sense of peace, because there's so many societal programs that kind of tell us that we have to always be doing and always be winning and always be this or that. But the truth is that we're not always anything, right? Life definitely kind of goes like this. And I think also a lot of the concepts you talk about are things that I know, but because I'm so far past them, sometimes when we've gone over the hump on certain things, certain emotions and certain, griefs and things like that, we forget. So I feel
Mhm.
like I forgot. And when you started talking about this chapter and what you wanted to contribute, I was like, this is going to be super powerful, a great grounding for the book.
Good. Thank you, Britannia. Yes. And that's what I wanted to bring to this book on abundance. Even as I hear you talk, I was thinking back, this was not something I was thinking of when I wrote the chapter, but you're getting me to think about a time when here it was about 6 years ago, going through a separation, divorce at that time. And I was working with a coach who was doing her best to work with my conscious, hey, what do you want to do? And to a point that you made, Katrina, I honestly didn't even know what I want. I was going through a divorce. I was trying to figure out who was I when I wasn't a wife anymore, right? I wasn't in a marriage anymore. And I was swaying a lot with what other people, including my coach, thought I should be, should have, should do. And I just went along with that at that point in time because I wasn't grounded. And coaches are well meaning. Like I literally, she was doing what she thought was best for me. But because I wasn't grounded, I let her lead me in the direction that she thought I should go. And so when I started to pull back the reins on that, I began to feel, what is it that I wanted? So one of the things that I chose to do for myself was, of all things, build a backyard oasis to have a big 50th birthday party bash. And I know you just did your birthday 50th, so I'm a couple of years ahead of you on that one. So I wanted this big bash. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to do all these things. I wanted to build up my business. So once I started getting it back, I said, well, what is it that I want to do as part of that? And in the process, so let's just talk about building my backyard oasis. As I started putting effort towards it, my coach is like, okay, we'll help you with that. I went ahead and did that. However, I did not release the limiting beliefs that I had around my finances.
Right.
So I found myself in a situation where I was moving ahead with this big project. I was in the middle of a divorce. Yes, I had the funds to do it, but all of a sudden I got to this point where I was panicked. Like, what am I doing? What debt? Like this is insane for me. Started all those negative feelings start coming back. So it wasn't until I ended up working with another mentor who did more of the subconscious clearing associated with my limiting beliefs that were coming up, that I was able to more effortlessly and easily step into that abundant mindset. It wasn't just about the finances, it was that abundant mindset, and confidently and comfortably move forward, and also bring in the finances to be able to manage that life that I was creating for myself. So
Yeah.
that's a big reason why I talk about letting go and grieving, which includes identifying those limiting beliefs that are underneath what's holding you back from what you
Yeah.
want.
I love everything you said because everything you just spoke to is exactly what the book is about, right?
Yes.
The Anatomy of
Yes.
Abundance framework, the step one is who are you? And like
Mhm.
yourself, when I lost my husband in 2009, you had that moment where you're like, well, who am I now? Who am I if I'm not a wife? Who am I if I'm not Alex's wife, or or Jordan and Ramsey's and the rest of them's mother, right? So you really had this identity crisis. So you take a moment to get back to who you are, but in order to get to the truth of who you are without all of the conditioning or the expectations of your family and society, like you said, you have to identify all of the things, the disempowering stories, narratives, habits that are keeping you in this identity, and then unravel that. And that's what I love about neuro-linguistic programming, which we both share, but that you focus on more, is that it really is such a fast and efficient way to not only identify, but to completely rewire your brain and your narratives like instantly. And it can completely change your life. I
Yes.
remember for myself, there was a simple narrative that was screwing me royally. And it
Mhm.
was, I already had my one great love,
Mhm.
right? So basically, I was like, well, I'm doomed. I'm never going to love again because I already had my one great love, because that's what society tells us. You have one soulmate, right? Like one big love. And I remember that my mentor at the time, or my friend, she said, well, what if you changed your languaging and said, I've already had my one great love. And I'm so excited to see what else is in store for me, right? Something that simple. And I have an amazing person now that I also consider my soulmate. So, it's just interesting how powerful we all know that the brain is powerful, but I don't think we
Mhm.
really know how powerful the brain is until we engage in some of the work like what you do.
Yes, yes. And I've had the opportunity over the last 5 years to work with over 1,200 individuals in the work of NLP, neuro linguistics programming, understanding the science underneath it, and seeing the power that it can have instantaneously, as you mentioned. For example, even going through the times of the notorious COVID-19, for example, what fear in and of itself, how that held some individuals, including myself, back. And when we release that, we're able to see more opportunities that are out there. But we were so clouded, some were clouded by this fear and this chaos of what we couldn't see, that once we broke those chains, it created this energy for more opportunities to come about. I had some of my most abundant years in 2020, 21, 22, 23, even going into 2024, more abundant years because I was able to identify and break the chains for me,
Yeah.
for me. Yes, so powerful,
I
so
love it.
powerful.
And y'all, this is only one of the amazing co-authors in this book. So imagine the power, the juiciness. If you haven't already picked up your copy of Anatomy of Abundance, what the hell are you waiting for? Go to go.patrinawisdom.com/abundance or to any of your favorite book platforms, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Goodreads. We don't care where you buy the book. We just want you to go buy the book because it will absolutely change your life. It's not just a book that you read and stick on a shelf. This is a book that you'll go back to over and over again. It's a guide. And I'm really looking forward to getting the feedback and just hearing how people are utilizing this book. And I think you already know this, Karen, but we have opened up a book club so that not only do you all get to read the book, but you also have the opportunity to engage with the authors and get on calls with the authors on a monthly basis. So again, don't just go out and buy the book for yourself. Go buy multiple copies, gift it to friends and family, and be the catalyst for changing their life. So Karen, Dr. Karen, as we start to kind of bring this interview to a close, I would love for you to share just some final words about why you think people should go out and purchase this book, like how it's going to change their life, but also why you wanted to be a part of this book, right? You had plenty
Yeah.
of other things to do. As a matter of fact, you were writing your own book simultaneously, your healthy grief book. And in one part of my brain, I was like, oh, she's a fucking rock star. And on the other part of my brain, I was like, she's crazy. How's she going to get this done? So share
Yeah,
a little bit about that journey.
that's a duality right there. Yeah. Uh, I will. Some of this I've shared with you, Patrina, is when I originally started writing this chapter, I was I had in my mind a certain structure because I was really taking your structure and I was trying to do as much as possible, and it wasn't feeling right for me. So when I backtracked and I said, okay, what is it that I want to do? Let's do what I want to do first, and then let's fit it into the structure. It flowed. It flowed like 2 days, boom, done, right?
Yes.
And this was a lot of me doing the process of me writing this chapter had much to do with the anatomy of abundance. Who am I? Right? I needed to ground myself in who I was as the grief recovery expert and what can I bring of my knowledge into abundance. And so that's where I backtracked. And so when I wrote that chapter, it was a lot of the process that I personally was going through. I needed to let go of the structure of what I thought I had to do and bring forth who I was into that chapter and then start to meld in various different pieces to make sure as I was bringing this this into the anatomy of abundance, that it was coherent with the other chapters and it just flowed nicely. So with that, I leave you, as well as those who are watching this, with the idea of reflecting upon nature, right? When we see, let's imagine even the leaves of the trees, even at this point in time, we're in winter at the time of this recording, its leaves can't just keep on growing where the other leaves are without releasing the leaves that are there. So thinking about the anatomy of abundance as well as how grief plays into it is allowing the nature of letting go
Yeah.
as whatever it was that may have gotten us to be where we are right now is great. And is that going to sustain where we want to go in the future? And if not, then it's a natural process to identify what that is and release and let that go, so we then can bring in that abundance that we want in our life. And just recognize that grief is a natural, normal process of letting go, of releasing, so we can truly bring in that abundance to do, be, and have what we want in our life.
Yes, I couldn't have said it better. And I love that part of your stuckness in the beginning with writing your chapter got you unstuck. What got you unstuck is the actual system that we're teaching in the book. Like, that is literally a living example of how this can help other people as well. So I am thrilled for everyone to read this book. I'm also thrilled for you all to join us at our book launch party on January 28th at the Hills Hotel in Laguna Hills. And if you want more information, feel free to DM us. I'm sure we'll have more information coming out. But thank you for joining us for another interview, and stay tuned because we've got more. You get to meet pretty much all of the authors. How about that? Get some insight into how this book came about and what they're talking about, and just the potency of what we've created here. So thank you, Karen. And thank you, everybody, for joining, and we'll see you soon.